What up? How's it going? Today I'm going to be doing a little sketch in my sketchbook. I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of the rules of, basically about drawing in general and how to do that. So I'm going to add a little sketch over here. I already penciled it in loosely, but I'm going to kind of talk my way through the sketch in general just to kind of say my thoughts. What I kind of did was, let me see if I zoom out a little bit. What I did was over here was I did a page of general, just general, I don't know, weird alien things. I was thinking of aliens and all of a sudden there's like this samurai eye thing over there. But over here, I'm going to try to go back to the alien theme and try to put something in there. So that's pretty much what I'm going to do. I'm just going to talk my way through it as I'm doing it. I'm using a high-tech pilot pen, high-tech C pilot pen. Really, really big on those. They're amazing. They're probably the best. They're certainly my favorite drawing pen because it gets so, how do you say that? Like the detail, it's so small, right, on these pens, and it doesn't let out a gigantic blotch of ink like some of the other fountain pens. So let me see if I can kind of let me get a fresher one here, just so I can kind of move my hand out of the way so that you're not staring at my hand the whole time. So I'm just thinking of like a bug character. I'm thinking of the big eyes. And this is kind of like what I do when I like free sketch. I'm literally just kind of free flowing ideas and just kind of like coming up with rando stuff out of my mind and just filling my sketchbook with like bizarre ideas. And those are honestly, in my opinion, the best sketchbooks to kind of look through because, like you kind of flip through it. I've definitely handled a lot of people's sketchbooks and you get a window into what they're thinking about. And it's really cool when you see that. You're just like, oh, this is awesome. When like he likes drawing, cartoons or, or animated figures or animated people or animated women or whatever. And it's kind of a cool, it's a really cool thing to do that. I think it's really neat. Right. And that's kind of what I want my sketchbooks to look like. I want them to be this fun little journey to go through. It's like going through my head. And so that's why I kind of have like two different sketchbooks and I've talked about that, maybe three. I have like a sketchbook where I'm just trash. You know what I mean? Might as well be, like I am really experimenting and there's a lot of like duds and mess ups. And then I have one where it's more like this, where, there could definitely be duds and mess ups in this for sure, but there's not as many. I'm more or less kind of like falling back on stuff that I like, And if I was to ink it, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to ink like monsters because some monster types are incredibly easy. For me, especially, because I just really like some of these monster. I don't know, just doing monster design. Just it's organic. There's something fun and satisfying about drawing like these, humanoid, alien, things or whatever, or bizarre, like how do you say, like almost like demon related stuff. And you can kind of like create your own little like story when you're doing it. Because like sometimes for me, I'm kind of like, all right, what would and you should kind of always do this, whether this is a good, what do you call it, habit, even if you're not using this for anything, even if this is just for your sketchbook, you kind of want to imagine like a little mini story in your head a little bit, and that's going to dictate how the character looks. So for example, I'm thinking of this guy's probably going to have gills, and I want his head to kind of look like a little bit like a shrimp, like, or a guppy or something. That's kind of what's going through my general mind. And I want him to be able to breathe through these gills over here. And that's kind of like my main thing. It's like, okay, something aquatic. And even with my lines right now, I'm not being super careful about it, right? I'm more or less just kind of throwing these lines in over here. And the reason I can do that is because I already have this little scribbly thing underneath that I can kind of follow. Let me give him like a little bit of a shoulder pad almost. I don't know, maybe it looks like a crawfish, and he's got his regular arm under there, and maybe it's gonna, disappear behind this dude over here, this guy's hat. Putting this up. So, like I was saying, like when you want to think about like general story, it's definitely going to affect how they look. You also, I was going to say the benefits of drawing in a sketchbook would probably be the fact that you don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. And I've kind of said that a couple of times. So when you're just drawing random stuff for your own, for your own sake, like stuff you like, then you just don't get the feeling of like, oh no, I have to finish this for work. I don't have this like incredible, like, deadline to go on. You know what I mean? I'm aware. I'm definitely one of those people that like when as soon as you get a deadline, even if it's something you like, right? Even if it's something you enjoy drawing and like designing or whatever, as soon as they're like, okay, there's a deadline, you got to have it by this, and we're having this much money. It's like, oh no, now it's like, oh no, now it's a job. Now it's like, oh my, what do I do? It's like you can't help. At least I can't help but have that stuff kind of like crawl into my brain, or you're like, oh dang, this is a job though. I have to take it serious, and it almost makes you uptight, right? I was hearing something about like, I don't know if it's true or not, so don't quote me. I was hearing that like your brain kind of forms new synapses. It takes like I forget what it was, like 100 times or something. You have to do it over and over and over again to kind of become like a habit, like a permanent thing. And then like I heard if you do it at play though, like you're just kind of playing around, fooling around with it, you only have to do it like 10 or 15 times. Like basically, I don't know if it's true, so don't take this as like a total quote or anything. I heard that if you're learning stuff more in a relaxed state, that you remember it better. That's pretty much what I had heard, and I don't know if that's true or not. If anybody can, you know, proof check that for me, whatever, double check that, fact check that for me. All right, we're going down to his arm, and I'm thinking like, okay, what's his arm going to look like? Well, I want it to be thin and gangly and long, right? And I want it to have like a Michael Phelps-like body because, like I'm thinking like a good swimmer, right? Somebody be a good swimmer because he's in the water, so it's going to have kind of an elongated look. For sure, webbed, what do you call it? Webbed fingers, right? For sure. Yeah, just like some webbed fingers over here, just to show that, like, yeah, he's aquatic. That's kind of going on. And again, my only goal right here when we're looking at this is I want like the outer. I'm trying to get like to the point where I can just erase all these lines, right? I just want kind of like the outer stance and all that to kind of come out right here. So let's say right here. And I want to have him like, I don't know, his legs are going to go out the page. They kind of remind me of the those things from Men in Black. I don't know if you guys remember those things. Kind of like a diaper or something. I don't know what that is. It could be like a loincloth or something. I just feel like it needs clothes. I don't know why. I forgot. What are those guys from Men in Black? They have huge legs and they look like bug creatures. That's kind of what I'm mildly thinking about. I didn't actually think about that till after, by the way. So I'm not like totally ripping it off. I was just thinking in the back of my head, like, oh yeah, this kind of looks like those guys. Because sometimes you'll draw something and you're like, oh wow, it looks like this other thing that I drew. Okay, so I have the vague outline right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my eraser, wherever the heck that is. Let me see. Okay, I found my eraser. And I'm just going to erase all these doodly, scrabbly pencil lines because I don't really need them there. Because it was originally there just to keep my proportion in check. That's the only reason I had it there, was just to vaguely keep my proportion. But now that I don't need it, I'm going to go over here, and forgive me, it's going to go out of focus real quick, right? I'm assuming. And I'm just going to go over here and get rid of all these wiggly lines, right? From the scraggly lines from before. And now I have like a primer to work into, right? Now I have my vague little shape to work into, and now it's like, okay, now I can add stuff to it. So number one, I'm going to add muscle insertions. I'm going to add the bicep right here and curve right here as well. It would be facing something like that because he does have generally human anatomy, like broadly speaking. He's humanoid. He's standing up. He's got like 2 arms, 2 legs. Kind of. I mean, the legs are more animalistic, but if you ever look at like cat muscles and bones and like a person's, or look at like take an evolution class, when you compare skeletons from like dogs and cats and people, it's really obvious that they're related, like in some distant way. Like you kind of see the same kind of like the heel, right? The heel on us is like in our shoe, but the heel for like a dog would be all the way up there. It's called, I think it's called plantigrade and digigrade, I think. Digigrade? Yeah, I think that's what you call it. Digigrade and plantigrade. Digigrade is where you're standing on your digits, like you're literally standing on your toes like a cat. And then plantigrades are planting your foot, including your heel touches the floor. Like we have that. I think bears have that. I think gorillas have that as well. But like, cats and dogs and all that, they don't really have that. They have more like that cool, elongated kind of, so they could make them like run a lot faster and stuff too. So it's pretty neat. But yeah, just a little bit biology, but it's all made up of the same parts. They're just kind of like moving differently, which is fascinating. Like they're kind of arranged in a different way. Same thing if you look at like look at bats, right? Look at the bat wings, for example. Like it's really just splayed out jazz hands. You know, it's literally like hands, which is crazy. Um, Birds got a little bit of a similar thing too, but yeah, check all that stuff out. That stuff's awesome. When you start comparing anatomies from animals to human, you're gonna realize like how similar they are. It's pretty wild. All right, let's go into. Okay, I'm making this too dark too fast. I feel I don't want to give this guy abs. That's weird. Um, he's got the gills right here, so we could fill this in. And I'm thinking of maybe like a dark area back here along his head to give it some sort of mass. A lot of this stuff is now I'm putting in the next phase. So phase one was just kind of, for me, for a sketch, right? This is only the sketch phases. Sketch one will be like, for me, scribbling something in, like a loose idea and coming up with it. Phase two would be, getting in my first very light pen stuff, my pen, like just to get that foundation in very lightly, just to get enough to erase the pencils. Then the next stage would be to kind of start going into little like smaller details. But I think I was going too dark too fast there. So I might just kind of maybe go into the eyeball, right? What kind of eyeball would he have? He'd probably have some sort of kind of fisheye thing. So it'd probably be a little bit of a reflected surface. Something like that. I'm trying to make it look a little bit reflected. Maybe something like that. I'm just kind of like scratching in these shapes, but in like a cylindrical manner. So it kind of looks like it's conforming to the circle of his eye. And down over here, kind of put some dot over there. Yeah, I'm just going to keep going in. I guess right now what I'm doing is I'm aiming for the large dark areas, right? The armpit area. Again, I think that's too dark. I don't know why I did that. Maybe around the leg area. I'm focusing on like some large dark masses that I could kind of immediately go in. Sorry if like it's getting blurry or not. Let's see. And let me know, by the way, if it's getting blurry or not. And you're kind of doing this little dance with your sketch. And this is what I mean by it's like funner to do it with a sketch than something you're full blown, commissioning. And you're kind of doing this little dance where you kind of put a couple of lines in and then you step back and you look at it for a second. All right. This to me looks disconnected with the body. I got to make that merge a little bit more, either in design language or in its shading and its rendering. So I think I want to, I don't know. It looks kind of armored here, and he's wearing a little bit of an armor thing on his arm right there, right? A little shoulder pad thing. I should put that on the other side. Wow, I didn't do that. So he kind of needs something around his chest, I think. He's going to need, it would make sense that he would have some sort of protective barrier shell along his chest. That just makes sense to me. So we're going to do that right there. Maybe it's like a hard shell thing. Maybe he's part lobster or something like that. And put some dark over here because I put that in as a late addition. Yeah, that could work. That could work pretty well. We're looking at this guy and we're thinking, all right, what else would he have armored wise? Maybe, I don't know. Would he have it around his wrist? I guess he would definitely have these like pants or whatever the heck. I guess I did like kind of made that decision, that call. Like I said, this has got to be a hard armored shell. So that area, and I would say maybe even like down here, that first layer would be a little bit armored. It would have to be, we're throwing in a line right there to make it look a little bit, how do you say, like thick, like there's an actual thickness there to that layer, right? Some of these little lines like this, for example, would be like, oh, okay, this is probably a hard surface that we're, kind of working into. And then I guess we'll have this go all the way down. It makes sense it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to not have protection in his stomach, right? We'll split it down. And it looks like pseudo abs, but they are like a hard surface. So we're kind of thinking about that. And we want to make this look like more of a layer. So I'm probably going to put a little bit of more dark here around that area to make it look more like an actual layer of something. Yeah. All right. I'm kind of okay with this. I'm kind of starting to dig this line over here. Maybe throw another little bit of shadow right there. Still looks a little not unified to me, so I'm thinking like, what exactly am I gonna do here? All right. If he had all that, would he have something in his hand? I just feel like he would have something in his hand. It wouldn't just be like, would he? But then again, he would have this free because he's swimming, right? So if you're swimming, you don't want that junk in the way. Maybe if I add a little bit of dark here, it'll make me like it a little bit more. Maybe it's just the way it's rendered. You know, maybe you can throw a little bit of like detail right here, like a few little small lines around the knuckle area to show that, you know, like when you look at your own hand, there's kind of like, oopsie, you can kind of see those like lines kind of on your knuckles. And it makes it look like more realistic. You don't want to overdo it though, because it can definitely age your hands up. But I mean, obviously this guy's like a, you know, kind of a monster-ish, slightly kind of guy. He doesn't look dumb though, because I could see this thing having like some sort of a society. You know, I could see that happening. I don't know if I see him as a total brute. Seems more like a quick swimmer. See, this is what I mean by like you just let your thoughts race, just for like a little sketch, right? That's funny. You're just letting your thoughts race and throwing these ideas out for just like a little sketch. Because again, you could reuse these in the future. You could be like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna make a comic book, and I was like, you know, you go through old sketchbooks. I've heard so many people come up with their ideas that way. Like they go through old sketchbooks and they have an idea. It's like, oh man, that was a cool drawing. Maybe we can expand on this idea. And yeah, like literally. So it's not bad to like lose yourself in the world. I think from here to here, like between his eyes, I feel like it needs something else. I don't know. Maybe throw a little couple of lines right here. It needs maybe just the lines of detail, not so much like a design thing. It just needs something there because it feels kind of bare to me. All right, right there, right over here, just kind of, there we go, like all over the place. Don't want to overdo it, but just do a bit. Okay, let's go down to his, whatever they call the shoulder. Let's go to the shoulder pad real quick. Okay, shoulder pad, I think that can be one piece. I don't think it needs to be more. It could be, but I don't think it needs to be. I could throw like, I guess I'm gonna throw more dark in this area over here. Let's go down to his like whatever underpants diaper thing. I don't know. I'm trying to make it look like a loincloth. It's trying to look too much like a diaper. See, if that was in pencil, I probably would have erased that and tried to like restart it. But since I'm doing this in pen and this is just for fun, maybe something like that, some sort of hard diaper thing. It's obviously not a diaper. I'm just kind of making fun. But I don't know, like again, like just some sort of loincloth thing. I don't know how to say it, like some sort of armored thing down there. Let's put a line over here, right there, and that's just to add like another dimension to it. It's probably it's not like a functional thing, but it's like, all right, well, there's something there. And then let's see a line. I feel like he'd have a knee pad though. Nah, no knee pad, right? These are the questions. No, that would weigh him down. But he's like a shrimp man, dude, fish guy. I don't know. I'm gonna go with a no on nothing. I think he's just gonna be bare when it comes past his shoulder and the diaper area, whatever. It's just gonna be just straight raw muscle, whatever, raw skinny Michael Phelps style muscle there. No offense to Michael Phelps, cool body type. All right. And we can kind of keep on with this, which is wild, right? You can just kind of keep this going and going. It's kind of amazing how you can just kind of, you know, just keep it going, just keep it moving. And there's a lot that you can do. There's a lot that can happen. And yeah, you just kind of like keep thinking. I hope I kind of like made you more aware too of like the thought process of some of this stuff, right? Because you can do this stuff by yourself easily, right? When you're going through your sketchbook, and it makes the entire process funner for you. It makes it funner. It's just, like I said, it's interesting. It holds your attention longer. And not only, I mean, all that stuff's kind of like synonyms, but what it also does is it kind of, it gives you the habit of doing that with almost everything you do. Even like portraits sometimes, you could be like, oh, they're looking off that way, or, You know, obviously there's much less going on in a portrait story-wise, but you're just drawing like a family member, but it can really help you with everything else. Let's zoom out on the whole page and see how. Can I zoom out? What the heck? I guess as far as it zooms out. But anywho, that's kind of it. That's just kind of show you kind of the process of what it's like to sketch and think about story as you're doing this. And yeah, I'll do a few more of these like another time, but that's pretty much it. That's my time. I will see you guys tomorrow. Alrighty. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll talk later.